Okay, we're here today looking at a homemade fire skid for prescribed burning. This one here is made out of a frame of mostly angle iron. It measures about 77 inches long, so it fits pretty nicely on a 8-foot bed or on a flat bed. Here it's in a short box Dodge, so it does hang over the end a little bit, so I've removed the tailgate. It's made primarily out of agricultural components. As you can see, it's got the standard chemical shuttle tank on it, agricultural transfer pump, and all the plumbing and parts are agricultural oil field pieces. About the only thing that is strictly fire is the hose, which is 20 foot of 1-inch booster hose, and the pistol grip nozzle, the bail shut-off pistol grip there with the red Lexan nozzle. Taking a look now at some of the plumbing components. You can see here at the base of the tank I've got a valve, that's a banjo polypropylene valve attached to a 2-inch T. Now these valves you have to order special because the molded threading on the bottom of those tanks is a proprietary deal, so I had to order that one directly from Banjo. Coming out from that T, we got a straight 2-inch line that runs all the way out to the end to the cam coupler cap. And then going back the other way back up to the T here, we've got a polypropylene elbow hooked to also with a cam coupler on it, hooked to a 2-inch flexible line that runs into an elbow here running into the inlets on the pump. Then on the outlet of the pump, I've got a 2-inch cross. On the top of the cross, I've got a pressure gauge assembly, also on a cam coupler there. And then we've got a 2-inch brass ball valve that controls the recirculate volume. Then a 2-inch line running back up to the top of the tank and into an elbow. Had to drill a 3-inch hole with a hole saw on the side of the tank there and put a bulkhead in. And as you can see, about everything here is attached with these cam couplers, so you can detach the pump here and down here, and then both those green flexible lines remove with the pump, so you can take the pump inside for the winter. It just bolts to the frame down here. Now the reason for the cam coupler up here on the top of the 2-inch cross that holds the gauge assembly, if you ever got a water lock or an airlock in your pump, you could undo this, take a bucket of water, dump in there and prime the pump. As far as the valve up at the base of the tank up there, pretty much no need to ever shut that off unless you run out of water and were needing to draft out of a stock tank, in which case you could shut that valve off, undo the cap at the end here, and put a flexible line on a draft line, drop that into your stock tank, close this 1-inch valve that's hooked to the firefighting hose, leave the 2-inch line or 2-inch valve on the recirculate line all the way open, and you should be able to, assuming that your pump stays primed, should be able to draft and refill the tank. Okay, one thing to note up here, I used the cap that came on the shuttle tank. Those just have a big 1.5-inch hole in the top. It's a threaded hole that comes with a cap in it. They're primarily made to gravity empty, as you know, so you undo the cap, open your valve at the bottom of the tank, and it empties. However, when you're drawing water out at such a rate and not returning it through the recirculate line, in other words, it's going out the firefighting line, and you don't have a big enough vent up here, you can start to suck that tank in on itself. Also, with just the open hole, you kind of leave yourself open about anything dropping in there, and then running through your pump and getting clogged in your fire nozzle. So this one's got a dead end hole here because on the bottom it's got a cap and then a bunch of drilled holes in the side of the tube on the bottom side, and all that sticks down in the bottom. So when it's sitting up here on the tank, that thing's not sticking up above the roof of the pickup, catching on tree limbs and breaking something. As for the pump itself, the thing is purchased as an assembly from most agricultural tank supply places and that sort of place. It is a Honda GX 160 commercial motor attached to a cast iron Banjo pump, 2-inch inlet and outlet. Now for the hose. As I said before, it's a 1-inch inside diameter fire booster hose. This was purchased from a fire supply place. Hayes Fire and Rescue in Hayes. They custom made the hose, so those ends right there are permanently attached to the hose. Of course, here I've added a aluminum cam coupler here. There again, so you can detach the hose from the pump. Down here, so the hose comes out off the top of the pump. Down here I've made a clamp on the end of the frame. That way you could take all the hose off the frame in a backfire situation where one person's driving the pickup and another is running the wet line behind the pickup. Here you can drag the hose around without pulling on the top of the pump. The nozzle assembly is actually two pieces. The bail shut off with the pistol grip on it, and then the red nozzle. The bail shut off is a Viper. They run about 120 bucks. The nozzle is just a simple red Lexan nozzle. That one's rated at 10 gallons per minute. Although when you pour the coals to the engine, you can get a little bit more out of it than that. And they only run about 15 bucks. Okay, now for a quick demonstration. One thing nice about Honda engines, they're pretty easy starters. Okay, the circulate line is open. Fire hose valve is shut. Rubber up. Probably where we'd be for most backfire situations. Pretty good volume of water and a pretty good fan. Here we are at full bore. The recirculate valve all the way closed and the throttle is all the way open. About 30-35 feet is all it do. If you re-nozzled it, you might be able to do a little better. So that's about all there is to it. As this unit sits, I have about $1,300 in it. You got about $700 in engine, so at about $120 in hose, $150 for hose, $120 for the bail shutoff, $15 for the nozzle. Obviously the tanks are pretty well free if you know where to get them. And the balance is in metal and plumbing. You know, when you get brass ball valves and all these cam couplers, all that starts to add up. A couple things a person might do different. As this thing is all assembled here, obviously without any water in the tank, two men can't hardly lift this into the back of a pickup. It's pretty heavy. And most of that weight comes from the engine and pump assembly. The pump is god-awful heavy. That cast iron pump is super heavy duty, which is nice. But a person might replace that with a centrifugal aluminum cased transfer pump that has cast iron innards. I know Honda Power Supply, they make them as a setup like that. And the other thing you'll notice here that's missing maybe from some slide-in units is a hose reel. Hose reels are pretty expensive and you don't want to skimp on them, otherwise they'll leak at the hub portion. For our purposes, we didn't really need a lot of hose because it's pretty flat country and it's just going to be either drag along behind the pickup here or be used right out of the back of the pickup, so 20 feet was enough. Down in the red hills, or if you're trying to get down into canyons full of cedars to put out hot spots, mop up and whatnot, you might need longer hose, which could warrant a hose reel. But other than that, that's about it.